Welcome to this another exciting tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm going to talk about HTML. So HTML is one of the programming language. As a web developer, you should be able to understand how it works. Now, when you talk about web programming has been divided into two. We have what we call the front-end development and the back-end development. Now, in front-end development, we have got three main languages that every web developer should know. We have what we call the HTML, we have got what we call the CSS, and then we have what we call the JavaScript. So those are some of the languages that each and every web developer should be able to understand. Yeah. Now in this particular segment, I'm going to discuss three main areas. One, I'm going to discuss about introduction to HTML. And then I also talk about how to set up the development environment for your language, that is your web page. And finally, I'll talk about the basic structure of your HTML page. Yeah. So those are some of the areas we're going to look at in this particular segment. Now, HTML basically is an acronym. So in full, HTML means hypertext markup language. Now, when you talk about hypertext, basically it means that any text that when selected will take you to a different document. We call it hypertext. Yeah. So you talk of people maybe talk about hypertext HTTP. So HTTP means hypertext transfer protocol. So it means that these are protocols that enable you to transfer or to move from one document to another. Okay. It allows you to access the document just by typing something in the web browser. Like when you type something in the web browser like HTTP / then you just type maybe ubitech ego.com, for example. That is it. So this is enabling me. It is once you have typed it, it's a text that once typed in your browser will enable to take you to this page. Yeah. So every time you talk about hypertext, basically it means that this particular text is just meant to enable you to direct you to another document that you might have in your website or you want to access through the internet. Okay. Now, markup basically is a set of instructions. Markup is a set of instructions that specify how the content should be displayed. That is that is what we call the structure of this language, markup, because it's made up of instructions that tells you that I want this content to appear in this manner, I want this content to appear like a footer, I want this content to appear as the head, I want this content to appear in this manner. So that is what you call markup. Then language is just basically the set of codes or the set of syntax and semantics that enable you to create a web page. So that's what you call a language. Now in general, every time we talk about hypertext, we talk about HTML. HTML will have such kind of tags everywhere. Yeah. So it's made up of these tags. Now, when you have this is what you call the opening tag or the start tag. This one is what we call the opening tag or the start tag. Okay. Now, inside this start tag, we have what we call the content. So this is what is going to be displayed. When you display an HTML, when you come up with an HTML page or a web page, it doesn't display to you the tags. Basically it displays to you the content. So these tags, we have the opening tag and then you have the closing tag. So what is the difference between the opening tag and the closing tag? Basically is the /. So you can see the closing tag has got a /, but the opening tag has no /. So that is the difference between the opening tag and the closing tag. Okay. Now this can apply to all. It can be applied to all HTML elements except the following. We have what we call the BR. So the BR, you realize that the / will come after you have already written down that particular statement. BR, then /, then you put that. So the another one that lacks it is what we call that one, the horizontal rule. We are going to look at it. Yeah. So these are some of the tags that might not be able to conform to this particular rule, but basically we'll be able to look at it as we go further. So I've already explained what this tag is, and this is closing tag. Now HTML is responsible for defining the structure and the content of the web page. So every web page you visit is essentially a document written in HTML. So that is very true. You go to the you go and inspect any website. For example, I just go here, I want to inspect maybe this website here. Okay, so maybe I can go here and just inspect this web page here. So if I right click here and then I just go to inspect, okay, you can just go here and just inspect. You realize that it is going to display to me the HTML page. So you can see this is the elements that we have there. So you can see we have got the elements here. So you can see it is made up of those. Yeah, so you can see this is what we am talking about. So all these are HTML. Every time I hover over it, is going to display to me what is just being displayed on my page here. Yeah, so that is it, what it means. But all these web pages we are going to talk about is made up of HTML elements. Now going further, you realize that when you talk about HTML requires you to have what you call the development tools. So you can't work with HTML without the development tools. Now HTML requires three main tools. It requires what you call the text editor. So in the text editor, it allows you now to write the code. In the text editor, you write the code. Okay, and examples of text editors is what you call the VS Code. We have got the Notepad++, we have got the Sublime text editor. So those are the ones that can easily help you to develop using you can be able to develop HTML using these text editors. But I would recommend you to use the first one, VS Code. Why? Because VS Code has got a variety of programming languages embedded in it. So you don't need to have multiple editors for you to create a website. You can be able to incorporate everything that you need in one text editor, and that is the beauty of using the VS Code. Another beauty of using the VS Code, it has got some plugins that enable you to run an internal without going necessarily to the web browser. Keep on switching from the text editor to the browser to run your program. You can as well be able to execute the same program inside this particular text editor, and that is how the beauty. Now I'm going to show you how you are going to do that. Now the next thing that you need to have, in case you want just to use the web browser, you need to have a web browser in your disposal, and then you also need to have what you call the working folder. So the working folder is meant to accommodate all the work that you're doing in that space. Now let's go to the web browser. So this is my web browser. This is already Chrome. I've already installed Chrome. So the next thing to do is just to search here the VS Code. So it's something that I've just done recently, so that's why it is being displayed here. So when I click on it, this VS Code is going to display to me the page that will enable me to download the Visual Studio Code. So you can see it's the first option displayed here. So when I click on this first option, it is going to prompt me to download. So it is going to say download for Windows. So if you are using the Windows operating system, go ahead and click on this option. Okay, now I've already downloaded and I've already installed. So basically when you click here, you'll see the download icon appear here, and then it will just download that file. Once it is downloaded, once that file is downloaded, you go to your downloads section, and then you'll be able to see that file has already been downloaded and it is embedded inside there. So you just double click on it, you follow the prompts that you will be given. It is not hard, you just follow the prompts that you have been given, and finally you'll be able to get an end product like this. So this is now the end product that once you have done the installation, you have downloaded and also installed, you should be able to get such kind of a product. Okay, now in this product we are going to create our first HTML page. So just go here, click on file, and then go to new, and then inside here we're just going to create our first page and just say that first.html. So that's the page that I want to create. Now it is saying create new file, so I'll click here, create new file. I'll click there, then it is going to display exactly where I want to save this particular file. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select desktop, and in the desktop I'm going to go to online course, and in the online course I've already created a folder called HTML. So how do you create a folder inside here? You just click on new folder, and then you just change the name to HTML. Now inside this page I'm going to save this file called first. So the moment I just create a a folder called HTML. Inside there you are going just to create. You are not going to add again here .html because it has already been recognized in VS Code that this is a HTML page, so you don't need to write again .html. But if you are using any other text editor, for example you are using Notepad++, it requires you to specifically say that this is first.html, but in this case it has already been defined for us. So just go ahead and click create file. Okay, so up to that particular point you can see it is loading, and then it will give you such kind of an empty area. Now when I go back to my slides, you realize that HTML is just like any other language. It has got what we call the syntax. So you talk of C++ has got syntax, you talk of PHP has got syntax. So it is not different with this language. Now in HTML we don't talk of syntax. Basically we talk about structure, because we have said that it's a markup language, and every web page requires to have HTML in it. Now this is just elements that every web page should have. One, it should have what we call the doc type HTML. So doc type HTML basically just explain to us the type of the web page or the type of language that is being used in this web document, and that is HTML. So it tells us the type of the document that is being used in this process. And then we have what we call the lang equal to en. Now in this case we are just trying to say that the language that is being used in this web document is English. That's why we are using en. En stands for English. So it tells us that the language that is being used in this language is English. And then we have what we call the head tag. When you talk about the head tag, in this section basically you add the document information, and that document information cut across. We have what we call the meta character set, UTF-8. Yeah, so that is just to explain to us the number of characters that can be used in this space. But basically when you talk about UTF-8, it allows every character, punctuation mark, and any symbol to be used in your web page. Now with meta character set is something that can just be ignored. So it doesn't mean that if you don't write it, it is going to affect the web page that you're going to run. But basically it's just explained to us the character set that are going to be used in your web page. Another thing that is contained in the head tag is what we call the title. So the title basically is the title that is displayed in the web page at the top here. So if this is my web page, so it means that this part where they have written here, this one at the top here, so that Visual Studio Code editing refined, that is our title. That is our title. So when you go to run this program, then definitely that will be in the title section, and that title section is inside the head tag. So that is very important to note. Another thing that we should also be incorporated here is the body. Now when you talk about the body, it is where you enter the web content. So in the body section, this is where the web content is going to be contained. Okay, now we are going to run a very simple hello world HTML document so that I can show you how it works. So let me switch to my editor, that is VS Code, and then I just type this doc type. So the moment I just open the angle bracket, and the angle bracket here is the less than sign on your keyboard. So you just press shift and the less than sign on your keyboard, and then you'll be able to see that symbol appear. It will just tell me what exactly I want to add there. So it is just going to double click here or click there once, and then you go to the next line and then type there HTML language, then you just type there en, yeah, like that. So inside here we can just go ahead and type the head, and then inside the head we are going to type title, and then you're going to say title that my first program, my first web page. So this is what is going to be displayed in the address bar. Okay, then we are going also to add the meta character set. Can as well be able to add the meta character set here, meta character set Okay, let me just confirm. My term a character set is that supposed to start with the angle bracket and then equal to UTF-8, like that. Then you close the angle bracket. Then after that, we just go to the body section. Go to our body section, body. And then in the body section, you just write there, hello HTML world. So that's the text that we want it to be displayed in there. So hello HTML world, and then you put those exclamation marks. So after you are done like that, you can see there is some white. When I'm not hovering over this space, you can see it is white. So this means that your work has not been saved. So what you need to do is just control S, and then you see that white dot disappear, meaning that your work has been saved. Now just go to, there are two ways to run this, as I explained earlier. You can just right click here and then say open show preview. So when you say show preview, it is just going to run your program inside VS Code. Run the program inside the VS Code. So you can see this is just like a web browser, but it's embedded inside the VS Code. So how do you go about it? Basically, you just go to extensions. And then you look for this extension called live preview. So live preview will enable you to be able to run your HTML inside. You can be able to run your HTML inside the VS Code. You don't need to switch to the external browser. You can just do it inside there. But if you are interested to just run it in the web browser, it is also possible. So what you need to do, you just go to our folder on the desktop. For example, I have got that folder called HTML. I just go to that folder of mine. You can see now that I've saved it as HTML, it is turned. You can see the icon there is the Chrome browser, the one that is going to run this program. So when I double click on it, you realize that it's going to display to me hello HTML world. So you can see those are the two main statements. So it is not quite different with what we saw in our VS Code live preview, and therefore you can see it is just the same there. Okay, so that is basically what you need to learn in terms of the introduction to HTML. Thank you so much for listening. Bye bye for now.